Sunni Islam is the most prevalent denomination of Muslims worldwide. Islam, like other major religions, is defined by a set of core beliefs. Groups that maintain those beliefs can properly be called Islamic, even if they differ on other details. A sect that denies one or more cornerstone ideas might claim an Islamic title, but it cannot legitimately be considered Islamic. Sunni Islam is by far the most common form of Islamic religion, with Shi'a Islam a distant second and smaller sects a relatively tiny fraction. Some estimates claim as many as 90% of the world's Muslims are Sunni, though 75–80% is more likely. Because Muslims worldwide are primarily Sunni, this denomination is considered mainstream Islam. Beliefs associated with Sunni Islam are most frequently defended or debated in discussions of Muslim beliefs. Denominations such as Shia and Ahmadiyya, and offshoots of Islam such as Sufi and Druze, are most easily defined by their differences with Sunni Islam. Conversely, since Shia Islam is the second most common sect, it is frequently used to highlight Sunni Islam's contrast with other denominations. The split between Sunni and Shia Islam resulted from their approach to Muhammad's son-in-law Ali. Sunni Islam believes the Islamic people are to be led by a Caliph. This Caliph, per Sunni doctrine, should be based on merit and consensus. For this reason, Sunni Islam views Ali as the fourth successor to Muhammad, preceded by Abu Bakr, Umar ibn al-Khattab, and Uthman ibn Affan. Shia Islam, in contrast, believes in rule by an imam, a title Shi'ism ascribes by bloodline, making Ali the first imam of the Islamic people. Consistent with that perspective, Sunni Islam has virtually no formal requirements for leadership. Those who speak or teach in a Sunni mosque are those their fellow Muslims deem most learned or capable to do so. The Sunni use of the term for a spiritual leader imam is informal, especially compared to its use in Shia Islam. Whoever is leading prayer or study, in whatever setting, is acting as an imam, according to the Sunni approach. As in all forms of Islam, Sunnis consider the Quran to be the ultimate, infallible source of divine revelation. Unlike the Bible, however, the Quran is not primarily composed as a narration or dialogue. Rather, it is a collection of individual statements supposedly given to Muhammad by Allah. As such, Islamic doctrines and practices are mostly grounded in the use of hadith, oral traditions assembled into collections and used much like a second tier of scripture. The choice of which hadith to accept or reject is a major distinction between sects such as Sunni and Shia Islam. Unlike other faiths, Islam makes little or no distinction between political, military, judicial, and religious spheres. The concept of Islamic law, or Sharia, applies to all aspects of life and culture. As a result, varied applications of oral traditions, a discipline called fiqh, led to the development of differing schools of Islamic law. In Sunni Islam, there are four major schools of law used to interpret Sharia. These are Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Each of these forms a different balance among the Quran, Hadith, and the statements of religious scholars when defining day-to-day life. The varied interpretations of Sharia are important when discussing Islam's relationship to terrorism. As expected, one can find subdivisions within any group, and each of those divisions has branches of its own. Most of what the world defines as Islamic terrorism is associated with a particular branch of Islam, Salaf, a subset of Wahhabi, itself a segment of Hanbali. Among Salafi, a minority believe in active pursuit of violence to achieve their goals. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram are all associated with this specific strain of Islamic theology. The overwhelming majority of Sunni Muslims have no close doctrinal connection to such practitioners of overt terrorism. Sunni Islam is based on the belief that the Prophet Muhammad died without appointing a successor to lead the Muslim community, ummah. According to Sunni Muslims, after Muhammad's death, the confusion that ensued from not having a person to head the community led to the election of Abu Bakr, the Prophet's close friend and father-in-law, as the first caliph. This contrasts with the Shi'a Muslim belief that Muhammad himself appointed his first successor to be Ali ibn Abi Talib as the first Caliph and the first Muslim imam. The sectarian split that occurred in Islam between Sunni and Shi'a Muslims is based upon this early question of leadership. 30 years after Muhammad's death, the various factions of the Islamic faith were embroiled in a civil war known as the Fitna. Many of Muhammad's relatives and companions were involved in the power struggle, and the war finally stabilized when Umayyad, the governor of Syria, took control of the Caliphate. This marked the rise of the Umayyad dynasty, which ruled Islam until 750. Three sects of Islam developed and emerged at the conclusion of the Fitna: Sunni and Shi'a Islam, and the Khwarij sect, which is generally rejected by Islamic scholars as illegitimate and is today only practiced in Yemen and Oman. Islamic sects that have materialized since the 7th century Fitna, such as the Nation of Islam, are not regarded as legitimate Muslims by Sunni Muslims. Traditional Islamic law, or Sharia, is interpreted in 4 different ways in Sunni Islam. The schools of law, or madhab, developed in the first 4 centuries of Islam. The 4 schools of law are the Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali traditions, each based on the beliefs of their founders. Some Sunni Muslims say that one should choose a madhab and then follow all of its rulings. Other Sunnis say that it is acceptable to mix madhabs, to accept one madhab's ruling regarding one issue, and accept another madhab's ruling regarding a different issue. Sunnis also view the hadith, or Islamic oral law, differently than Shi'a Muslims. Hadith are found in several collections, and Sunnis view some of these collections to be more holy and authentic than others, especially the Bukhari collection of hadith. Even though the main split in Islamic practice is between Sunni and Shi'a Muslims, there are several rifts within the Sunni community. There are some liberal and more secular movements in Sunni Islam that say that Sharia is interpreted on an individual basis, and that reject any fatwa or religious edict by religious Muslim authority figures. There are also several fundamentalist movements in Sunni Islam, which reject and sometimes even persecute liberal Muslims for attempting to compromise traditional Muslim values. The Muslim Brotherhood and Jamaat-e-Islami organizations are fundamentalist Islamic groups that have given rise to offshoot groups like Hamas, who wish to destroy secular Islam and Western society through terrorism to bring back to the world a period of religious Muslim rule. Some estimates say that Muslims constitute 20% of the world's population. Although the exact demographics of the branches of Islam are disputed, most scholars believe that Sunni Muslims comprise 87 to 90% of the world's 1.5 billion Muslims. Sunni Islam is the largest denomination of Islam, followed by 87 to 90% of the world's Muslims, and simultaneously the largest religious denomination in the world. The word Sunni refers to those who observe the Sunnah, referring to the traditions and practices of Muhammad. The differences between Sunni and Shia Muslims arose from a disagreement over the succession to Muhammad and subsequently acquired broader political significance, as well as theological and juridical dimensions. According to Sunni traditions, Muhammad left no successor, and the participants of the Saqifa event elected Abu Bakr as the first caliph. This contrasts with the Shia view, which holds that Muhammad appointed his son-in-law and cousin Ali ibn Abi Talib as his successor. The Quran, together with Hadith, especially the 6 books, and Ijma, juristic consensus, form the basis of all traditional jurisprudence within Sunni Islam. Sharia rulings are derived from these basic sources, in conjunction with analogical reasoning, consideration of public welfare and juristic discretion, using the principles of jurisprudence developed by the traditional legal schools, Hanafism, Shafi'ism, Malikism, and Hanbalism. In matters of creed, the Sunni tradition upholds the 6 pillars of Iman, faith, and comprises the Ash'ari and Maturidi schools of Kalam, theology, as well as the textualist Athari school. Sunnis regard the first 4 caliphs Abu Bakr, r. 632 to 634, Umar, r. 634 to 644, Uthman, r. 644 to 656, and Ali, r. 656 to 661, as Rashidun, rightly guided, and revere the Sahaba, Tabi'in, and Tabi al-Tabi'in as the Salaf, predecessors. Sunnis consider the Caliphs as the immediate successors of the Prophet. The early leaders were companions of the Prophet who became Caliphs through different processes to lead the Muslim community. Sunnis call the first four leaders after the Prophet the rightly guided Caliphs, Khulafa Rashidun. These Caliphs were Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Uthman, and Hazrat Ali. After Hazrat Ali died in 661 CE, the first Muslim dynasty of caliphs from one family began, known as the Umayyad Caliphate. The Umayyads ruled over the Muslim world until 750 CE. They were overthrown after several internal rebellions, leading to the establishment of the Abbasid Caliphate, the second dynasty of caliphs. The early Sunnis viewed the caliphs as having both religious and political authority. Over time, the caliphs came to be seen mainly as political rulers, while the scholars, ulama, who had knowledge of matters of faith came to be viewed as religious authorities and interpreters. Sunnis are formally known as al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, or the people of the Prophet's way and the community. The term Sunni derives from the followers of the Sunnah, which are the sayings and actions of the Prophet. They rely on the consensus of opinion of the scholars of the community for guidance in matters of religion. Sunnis strive to live according to the example of the Prophet as found in medieval records of the Sunnah. There are many different communities of Sunnis today. They live in different parts of the world and speak many different languages. They also have different interpretations of religious beliefs and practices. There are four major recognized schools of law, madhab, today, Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki, and Shafi'i. In addition, most Sufis, who are Muslims who emphasize personal spiritual search, are Sunnis belonging to various Sufi tariqas. The followers of Sunni Islam, one of the two major branches of the tradition, the other is Shi'a, make up approximately 80% of the Muslim population in the world. The Sunni are the majority in most Islamic countries outside of Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and Bahrain. Sunnah translated variously as the trodden path, the way, example, or habitual practice refers to the example or path of the Prophet Muhammad and his followers. The Sunni and Shi'a both trace their differences to the 7th century CE, when disagreements over the successor to the Prophet Muhammad arose. The Sunni maintain that the Muslim community was to select the Prophet's successor, Caliph, to lead, whereas the Shi'a believe the Prophet chose his son-in-law, Ali, to be his successor. Although Sunnis and Shias agree on many theological and practical matters, the Sunni are typically seen as putting more emphasis on the power of God and his determination of human fate, and are often understood to be more inclusive in their definition of what it means to be a Muslim. The Sunni tradition has placed great emphasis on the role of religion in public and political life, with great weight placed on the Sharia, Islamic law, as the standard for a broad range of social issues: marriage, divorce, inheritance, commerce, and so on. The Sunni, the largest group in Islam, and the largest religious denomination in the world. In Arabic, as-Sunnah literally means principle or path. The Sunnah, or the behavior of Muhammad, is described as a main pillar of Sunni doctrine. They believe the first four caliphs, leaders, of the Muslim community were the rightful successors to Muhammad. That God has not specified the leaders of the Muslim community after Muhammad, and that the leader has to be elected. Sunnis recognize four major legal traditions, or madhabs: Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanafi, and Hanbali. All four accept the validity of the others, and a Muslim might choose any one that he/she finds agreeable to his/her mind or personality. Sunni and Shi'a Muslims differ on the legitimacy of the reigns of the Khulafa'i Rashidin, the first four caliphs. The Sunnis follow the caliphates of all four, while the Shiites recognize only the Caliphate of Ali. This schism occurred following the death of Umar. According to Sunni beliefs, Muhammad gave no specific directions as to the choosing of his successor when he died. At this time there were two customary means of selecting a leader: some had hereditary leaders such as sultans or kings, whilst some were appointed by the ulama. There is no proof in the scriptures of the need of a caliphate in Islam. However, Al-Qaeda aims to establish a worldwide caliphate through their jihadism. While Sunni and Shia Islam differ sharply on the conduct of a caliph and the right relations between a leader and a community, they do not differ on the underlying theory of stewardship. In the initial stages, the latter way of choosing leadership prevailed among the leading companions of Muhammad. Abu Bakr was elected as the first caliph or successor to Muhammad, with the other companions of Muhammad giving an oath of allegiance to him. The Persian citizens thought that Ali, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law, should have succeeded him. However, the appointment of the next two caliphs varied from the election of Abu Bakr. On his deathbed, Abu Bakr appointed Umar as his successor without an election by the community of scholars. Umar also altered the way his successor would be found. Before he was assassinated, Umar decided that his successor would come from a group of six. This group included Ali and Uthman, another companion of Muhammad. These six would have to establish from among themselves Umar's successor. Ultimately, Uthman was chosen as Umar's successor, becoming the third caliph. After the assassination of Uthman by the troublesome Persians, Ali was elected as the fourth caliph. Thank you for watching this video.